Hello, this is Mike of Nearly Enough Dice. This is the Kerbal Space Program. You see here my proposed lab module and Skycrane. It's a really bulky looking thing. I'm sure everyone else has I've seen has been really, really sweet and lovely and not this ridiculous size at all. So possibly I'm just really bad at designing things. Anyway. What I've been doing is I've been getting some information from this ship, like specifically when it's sat on some terrain, what height does it think it is? And it thinks it's 232.8 centimeters, and that's going to be from the center of gravity of the ship. So the center of gravity of the ship is 232.8 centimeters, 2 and a bit meters above the surface. I've also worked out through some shenanigans that the part tagged front, which is this here, right? Tag name front. Is 1.2 and a bit meters, minus 1.2 and a bit meters below the center of gravity. I'm not sure that's right, actually. I'm trying to imagine how big a Kerbal is compared to all this. Don't know how big Kerbals are. But anyway, about that, from there. So that should give me the height that I need this to hover at. I mean, in order to hook up with another base unit, segment that is already deployed, in theory, right? So I would need to use my Skycrane to hover at that height, and it's a question whether I'm going to use the ship height and just assume that the terrain is going to be level enough that that's going to be okay, or do I go with the part height? And I have to do some shenanigans there because Alt radar measures directly underneath the ship's center. Alt radar, which is the terrain altitude. Whereas I have to do some bit of shenanigans of going, finding that position, querying the body that the ship is currently orbiting around, or in this case floating above, asking it what its altitude is at that moment, and then working out the height above, it's the height above from there. Yeah, all sorts of craziness. Ooh. Yeah, so I was just looking up the documentation. I think there's a way of doing that. So you're constantly working out the height of this bit exactly. Now it's not as important when it's a grabbing claw as it is in this case. But when it's one of these, I'm going to want to make sure that when I'm lining up a docking port with another docking port, I need them to be at the same level. So I'd like the Skycrane to be able to do that. That may be overly ambitious. Possible what I really ought to do is create, you can see I've got a docking port under here, which is really only there to balance this docking port up there. But it does leave open the possibility of creating a rover that fits underneath here. When these legs get drawn up, the rover can then move the whole craft and then line up with the target docking port. Then the legs go up and everything ends up at the right height. So I'm leaving myself open to that. Now, it's obviously quite difficult to test this in Kerbal's gravity, which is 6 times that of the Mun's or thereabouts. So obviously what I need to do is I don't want to go to all the time and trouble of getting this thing to the Mun and then do testing. I think that is slightly backwards behavior. I don't think that's going to be a good idea at all. So what do I do instead? Well, I've got a new mod. I've got HyperEdit installed. So HyperEdit can do all sorts of interesting things. It can change your orbits. It can do all sorts of crazy things. Just put this into an orbit around a particular body and just go boom. There you go. Yeah, an altitude of 1,000. I think that's not very much around Kerbal, but I can give it an inclination, an eccentricity, and all sorts of stuff. There's a graphical one. I don't know. I presume that if I go into map mode, I'll see something entertaining. Maybe not. Determination position was above the sphere of influence. Ooh. Maybe it's not going to work because I'm not in a. I'm not going to use it there anyway. So it doesn't matter. That might not have worked because I wasn't actually in an orbit. I was actually landed. Anyway, I could do planet editing. I could edit a planet. Should we edit the planet? No, let's not do that. I suspect that would be bad and cause problems. But what I want is a ship lander. So Planet Mun seems to have saved my previous settings, where I set the latitude and longitude to the same as the taxi stand flag, which I made ages ago, if you remember. Now it says landing on a body other than the current one is not recommended, but I'm going to do it anyway. So what I can do is I can click that button there. Everything stops for a second as the Kerbal space program has a bit of think, and it drops me here. I'm just going to quickly lock steering to up and put SAS on. And it will go crazy because it doesn't know which way it wants to point. But I'll see if that's fine. It's not going to point the right way in time, I don't think. But there you go, through the magic of cheating. I'm now on the Mun, and I can now test everything. I'm going to Alt and F12 to open up my. This is the cheats menu, basically. Alt and F12. So at the moment, I've got to remember to turn all this off when I actually start doing this drill. This is what I've been doing with testing. So unbreakable joints, no crash damage, infinite fuel, infinite RCX. Alt F12 to get rid of that again. So there you go. I can now test this on the Mun. You can see I've got that contract for putting this on the Mun. I've now got that, which I don't want. I actually don't want it to claim that. But that's okay, because I'm going to go back to the save that I did at the end of last session. So none of this will have happened. This is all simulation. None of this is happening. It's all fake. None of it's real. And I'm just going to quickly show you. Whoops. My old friend Pithover. It's not too bad. It still overshoots a little bit. It used to overshoot quite a lot, and I spent basically my entire afternoon I spent my entire afternoon tuning this thing. It currently does not know which way it wants to point, kind of that-y ways, but that's not too big a problem. Right, are we done? Are we pointing happy with the way? No, we're not happy with the way we're pointing. Anyway, you really don't know which way you want to point, do you? I might have to take executive action here. I might not be able to take executive action. Wow. Let's turn that off. No, let's turn that off, which is done that way. If you've, incidentally, I've also changed the RCS ports to change. I've put them in a slightly more sensible way, position. There we go. That seems to work. Before I had them at like 45 degrees, they were coming out of these exactly on the same line as these girders, and that turned out to be a really bad idea. So anyway, as you can see, it's pretty much stabilized at 15 meters, which is what I've told it to be. And if I hit action group 1, if I hit the 1 key, it lowers itself down. It overshoots by about half a meter, and then it gradually climbs back up again. So I could do with tuning this even more, but this is much better than it used to be. And what I've realized, what I could have done before starting this is to input the value of ship height into my my hover function, so that I can tell it. So at the moment, I can go up and down by 1 meter, which is all very fine and good. But I want to be able to set it to exactly that ship height value that I worked out before, and I've just suddenly realized I haven't done that. But as you can see, I can go up and down without too much hassle, and it does pretty quickly get itself back into where I want it to be. I would love, quicker would be nice, less overshoot would be nice, but I really don't know enough about anything really to let's just. So I'm just using the RCS as a separate thing to stop my drift. What I may well want to end up doing is making a separate PID system to stop any kind of horizontal movement. In fact, I will want to do that. Let's go down a few more meters. What I think I'll do is I'll see if I can go down to 2, and the feet should just be off the ground at 2. Basically, I'm thinking about using that thing as a test. back off a bit. Oh, that's not backing off. Backing off is that way. Wood. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. So I can use, theoretically anyway, we're not doing left and right, we're doing forward and backwards. We're doing roundy roundy. That's forward, that's backward. We're not doing left and right, that's interesting. Willing to do up and down, but we're not doing forward and backwards. We're not doing left and right, that's kind of interesting. Oh, I wonder why that is. Oh, I'm suddenly realising there is absolutely nothing pointing, because you can see the way they're pointing up, down, left and right from this point of view. But I have nothing pointing, that's interesting. That's a thing I'm going to have to think about. Oh well. Oh well, let's continue going down to approximately 10 meters. One solution to that might be to put another set of RCS thrusters there. Or get some, there's monodirectional ones. And I just plonk monodirectional ones there and there. They're really, well, I could put them actually on, yeah, actually there and there, yeah, they'll go down the bottom there, so they'd be closer to the centre of gravity. Right, 3 meters. No, actually no, I want 3 meters, I don't want 2 meters. Because it's 2 and a bit meters. Yeah. So you can see the feet are just off the ground. And I want eventually at 2.32 meters. So I would do that actually with the gear up, right? And so I could then in fact, let's actually do this. Why can't I right click on anything? There we go. I have no idea. Arm. Oh, there we go. So I would like to be slightly lower down. And I'm also backwards. And I can't go left or right. But other than that, everything's brilliant. So you can see how this would work. You know, with the caveat that I'm in fact too off the ground and I can't go left and right. But apart from that, everything's brilliant. Oh, and also my left and right, my forward and backwards are reversed. But other than that, other than those tiny details of things being wrong, everything's brilliant. Alright, let's get... There might not be enough craft here. Oh! I think that worked in fact. So there you go. I have in fact grabbed the craft. So now I would put my, you know, I'd put myself down. Oh, because I'm now controlling the whole thing. I'm also controlling the craft from the engine there. That's funny. And then I'd turn off, and then I'd get an error. But I don't care about the error because I want to. So there you go. That's the basic idea. So you can see that that's still off the ground because I wasn't able to get. I didn't put the right value in, which I would have liked to have done. But that should fundamentally work. I should fundamentally be able to set the correct value so that then basically instead of just going up and down by 1 meter, at some point I say go to the height that I told you earlier that I want you to be at. Then when it joins up, when I put the legs down, it should be exactly right. An interesting thing I need to take into consideration is that if I do it to something that has thrust of its own, I probably have to go to it and disable its engines, just in case. Anyway, so there you go. That's the testing that I've got at the minute. Decisions to be made. Do I want to be fancy and run everything off the height of that from the ground as opposed to the height of the ship as a whole off the ground? I probably do, but that's I'm gonna have to do some maths on that one. And then I just need to add that in as an option. I need to look at my RCS again because I can't go sideways, and I'm going to really want to go sideways. And then I'm going to want to do a separate PID, I suspect, to control my vertical and my horizontal. But there you go. No, that's some interesting testing. I've also got to test HyperEdit, which looks to do all sorts of interesting things. Like I can decide whether or not I've got how much fuel I've got. That's actually going to be potentially very handy if I ever get to the stage of. If I might want to tune this not just for when it's full, but for when it's empty. So I may need to adjust liquid fuel. You can change what time it is. You can change. I don't want aligning SMAs. Is open the semi-major semi-major axis alignment. Wow, I have no idea what that is, and that seems very frightening. I can destroy things. Hurrah! No, change temperatures. And a boost button. I've no idea what all these boost buttons do. Alright, so that's the DV applied per frame when the boost button is held down. So it'd be left control and B, and then presumably just go whoosh! Anyway, so that's HyperEdit, which mostly I don't want to, which really I want to use, I only want to use the circumstance like this. I want to test things that needs to be tested on the mun. On the mun. And I certainly don't want to spend all the time and effort doing a launch and all that kind of stuff to get here, only to discover that I can't fly the thing or I've tuned all the parameters wrong. So now I don't have to do that. So that was today. That's what I've been doing today. Lots of tuning, and I actually made graphs. I made graphs in LibreOffice Calc. It's all a bit mad. But I think I'm very close to getting this actually functional, which is extremely pleasing to me. So anyway, that's that. That's what I've been doing up to today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've been enjoying all this. Watching me fumble about and all that kind of stuff. Hit like and subscribe if so. You can find Neil Left Dice at neilleftdice.com, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter. And until next time, reach for the stars and do lots of testing.